Shetani amejamjuni kona Yesu, hawezi nitisha mimi kona nguvu. Shetani amejamjuni kona Yesu, hawezi nitisha mimi kona nguvu. Nikona zigwembe, zigwembe ya Yesu, zigwembe, zigwembe 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 nikona.
Hi, Ernest.
Hi,
How
Joyce.
are you?
I'm good.
It's so weird that you've gone through the entire process of recording a course.
Yes, but we haven't
And then we're
met
meeting now because I was on maternity leave.
Yes,
and-
congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
So this even becomes more exciting for me.
Nice
'cause I
to
was
meet you, Joyce.
I get to have a fresh conversation with you.
Yes.
And I have a lot of questions.
Ask away. I'm here for you. I'm here for you.
So I'm here with Ernest, the force behind Powerhouse.
Yeah.
Doing amazing things in terms
Asante.
of empowering men and helping men connect with their greater potential.
Yes.
And so I guess the place I want to start, right, is by asking your story.
All right.
You know, who is
Yes.
Ernest? What's this story? How in the world do you end up doing this?
Powerhouse. All right.
You know, where did all this come from?
All right.
Yeah.
So my name is Ernest Wamboye. I'm 30 years old. Married for the past 7 years. Got married on September 2012. My wife and I are blessed with 2 children, daughters. So I'm outnumbered.
Wait,
All
so
right?
you're father of daughters and
I'm a
mother
father of daughters.
sons. This
Yeah.
is perfect.
God is saying something. We shall be receiving dowry deposits in advance.
Hey, I was like, what?
Yeah. So we've got 2 daughters, Tandy and Ivana.
Yeah.
And we are passionate about the family. I'm passionate about the family as well, you know. So what led to Powerhouse? So basically, in a nutshell, I would say Powerhouse is a men's empowerment program that helps them break pornography and masturbation addictions.
Wow.
Cultivate healthy relationships with God and cultivate healthy relationships with women. And the reason that came about started with my own story, you know. I struggled with pornography for a very long time. I struggled with and masturbation as well.
Yeah.
And these were things that when I was struggling with, I had no one to talk to. I had no one to turn to and just tell them, hey, this is it. It was difficult because my mom is a pastor. She's an Anglican vicar.
Whoa.
So
Before you go, don't go too fast there. I already have like almost 5 questions right on that note, right?
Yeah.
So this is interesting. Just to digest, because you said something very important. there.
Yes.
So this means you come from growing up in an environment where holiness. Are you seeing?
I grew up in a Christian environment.
Exactly. You know,
Yeah.
which is, and I know there are all these jokes. Of course, we have all these stories about children of pastors
Yes,
and how
yes.
it is to grow up in that
Yes.
environment. But really, more than the average home, there's a lot
Yeah.
of emphasis on purity. That's
Yes,
my point.
there is.
There's that pressure. It's not
There
even the
is-
usual.
You get books. Some
No.
of my comics were Bible comics.
See what I mean?
All right.
And so the most interesting thing you've said, and I think which is so good because it's going to help a lot of people realize that, you know, just be liberated, if I can put it that way.
Yes.
Is to realize that even coming from that environment,
Yes.
you're saying you still ended up in a
Yes.
situation where
It
you are
gives
struggling.
you an advantage. It does definitely. Having a Christian background with a family with 2 parents who are together, they're not divorced, they're not separated, you know,
Yes.
a stable home, it does give you an advantage.
Yeah.
However, there's a degree of responsibility that environment cannot give you. There's a degree of responsibility that your background cannot afford to you.
Yes.
And if you don't take up that responsibility, you'll end up like I did.
So that's what I'm trying to say.
Exactly.
You're in a space where it's basically purity is what's being preached.
Yes.
And not the ishwane.
Yes, yes.
Proper, right?
Exactly.
Biblical.
Yeah.
And so how then do you end up in this situation where you're addicted to pornography?
Yeah.
Just wondering, you know?
So I would say my first interaction with pornography was in high school. And when it occurred to me when I first encountered it in high school, it's not something that I was drawn to. I was disgusted actually by it, you know, because my faith, I really, despite growing in a Christian environment, I really came to Christ genuinely when I was in high school. That's when I made the decision for myself to really follow Christ.
Yes.
And at that point, you know, I was really on fire for God. So even when some of my classmates would, you know, some of my schoolmates would, you know, have a pornography magazine here and there, it really repelled me. You know, I was really repelled by it because I knew this was toxic to my relationship with God. However, it was after high school with all the freedom that it started to creep in slowly, because now all of a sudden you've got all the freedom, all the time, you know, moving to campus, and my entertainment was very filthy, you know. And I tell myself, I'm an adult, you know, it's not that big a deal.
Yes.
And that small compromise here and there, and then with also the comfort of, I've grown up in a Christian background, I can handle this, you know, that element of pride, that element of spiritual pride, that I've got a rich heritage, I can handle this. That's what led to my downfall. Yeah.
So it
And
starts mentally in terms of
Yeah.
excusing it, maybe.
Yeah, so you don't fall in a day. You
Yes.
actually slip away very, very slowly. So by the time you fall, you realize, oh my goodness, how did I get here? And I got here because I kept justifying myself, kept compromising, kept thinking I can handle this, kept thinking I'm better than this, I'm better than so and so, you know. And then you find yourself in it, and now you're too embarrassed to talk about it.
And of course, in fact, the thing I love about where we've started with this conversation is already we're in a territory that nobody is going to talk about.
Yes,
Sort of
yes.
it's a quiet, known thing.
It's sensitive.
And nobody wants to touch it.
Yeah.
And yet it's common. It's a real issue.
It is.
It's happening.
It is.
But we're all just happy to act like this is not a thing.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the story. So so what happened? So this is campus?
Yeah, so I'm struggling, and I mean the struggle didn't really begin until I would say towards when I was in my third year. Right?
When did you really feel it was a problem?
In my third year.
Okay.
So because first year, second year, just watching movies here and there, but it wasn't a problem. But now the pornography and the masturbation began now in my third year, and I was like, oh my goodness, now this thing has held me. Now I'm dating my girlfriend at that time, and she notices a change in the climate of the relationship. She's like, Ernest, how come your boundaries with other girls are not so clear anymore? You know, they used to be so clear. You know, how come your purity stance seems to be weakening? You know, and she noticed it. But I was too embarrassed to tell her. I thought, oh my gosh, she'll leave me. I'll be exposed. So I kept it mum. And so here I am. I'm struggling in silence. And the thing about pornography and masturbation is that sexual sin generally it thrives in secrecy.
It does.
Darkness is its perfect environment. That's where it thrives. That's where it grows. And so secrecy, anonymity, that's where it thrives. So I knew I had to get out, you know. And so I tried confessing, tried getting, you know, because I mean I knew the scriptures. James 5:16, confess your sins one to another, so that you may be healed, you know. But now the head knowledge had to be made heart knowledge, you know, and the application was difficult. You know?
Also.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was difficult. It was really difficult because you go to church and man, you hear the people giving testimonies and you're really, really overwhelmed. You're talking about how they woke up, you know, at 3 a.m. and they were having dreams and visions and how the Lord took them to the next dimension. You're thinking, wow.
And here I am struggling.
You know,
even with something I don't even want to talk to
like,
about.
you know how you guys are like born again. You know, you're like you're born again.
The word is spirit.
Yeah. So I felt really intimidated.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought, God, I can't confess there. And I remember the Lord nudging me, asking me, why won't you confess? And I remember I said, I don't want people to think I'm unspiritual. And the Lord was like, but you are unspiritual. Why are you more concerned about your image than your reality?
Ego.
And I realized,
and there's something I want to say or ask you that I also sense that without realizing, we do have a thing where not all sins are created equal. We know otherwise.
Yeah, some sins are more equal than others.
Yes, like of course we know it's not like that, but the human aspect.
Jerry Bridges has written a book on that. He calls it respectable sins.
There you go. So we have kind of like a quiet thing,
yes,
a perception where and church actually, I think that's one of the things we need to work on, right?
I know. Porn is there in the slums.
Yes, it's like this one you can come and tell us.
Yeah,
this one you come and tell us.
Porn, prostitution, all that, homosexuality,
which is what you're
all
saying.
down there.
That's why it's thriving, right? Because this one is it's more. It's almost like so much in the dark and nobody wants to talk about it, which means it's only going to get worse.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
So there's shame. There's shame with it. You know. So I had to get to a place where I had to say, hey, it's either your deliverance or your dignity, Ernest. You have to either choose to be free and be truly free, or have people think you're free but live in bondage. So I gathered courage, got 2 of my friends, and I told them, hey guys, you guys know me. I have to say I'm struggling. I'm really struggling. My girlfriend will leave me if I don't get these things together. You know, I've tried. The porn was I would say was kind of manageable because I had not had an introduction to it very early. So I felt like it was more manageable, but the masturbation was really difficult to let go of, you know. But I just told them everything, and they just said, wow, Ernest, me too. Yeah.
Wait. So before you go there, there's a question I wanted to ask you. And I'm like, that me too is just okay.
Yeah. Hashtag me too.
Yes. I was like, hashtag me too. But the choice of who to tell, and you understand why I'm asking these questions, because there's so much here to learn and see through your own experience.
Yes.
I was even going to ask. So now you've answered that. I was going to ask you who was the first you told, and you've answered that. So you
Yes.
two of your friends.
Yeah.
How did you choose these particular friends to tell? And the reason I'm asking this, I know anybody who's struggling with similar issues, these are probably the very things that are holding. It's always the simple things. Who do I tell? Who's the first?
Yeah.
It's never the complex things
Yeah.
sometimes to free us,
Yeah.
right? It starts with the basic thing of who
Yeah.
do I tell? If I'm struggling with these issues, who can I talk to? And for men especially.
Yes.
So how did you decide to talk to? How did you overcome that? How did you know this to talk to your friends and that these are the two friends you're going to talk to?
All right. So
And
one,
you can trust them enough.
yeah. So when I prayed,
Okay.
I asked Lord, lead me to the right kind of people. And then the Lord did bring them because these people started, warming up around me, being vulnerable concerning their lives, telling me concerning, things they're going through and the run. And so I could sense some safety already. And I knew God was answering the prayer that I had made, because they were not like that before. But not just some humility, some openness, just some, hey, guys, I'm going through this. Hey, pray for me. Guys, we really need to support one another. And I realized there's an ambience of safety that's being created here. So I had to take the step of faith. So those are people who, when I decided to tell them, one, I knew they understand my values. Okay, so they'll not question my values and say, hey, there's nothing wrong with porn, there's nothing wrong with masturbation. I'm not ready to start that argument, right? Secondly, these are people who I knew if I told them to keep it between us, they would keep it between us. They had a reputation for confidentiality.
Okay.
All
So
right.
you could trust them,
So I would not approach anyone whose reputation for gossip and speaking out was out there. So these are people who I knew I could trust. And then they were also mature spiritual. They were very spiritually mature.
Good.
So I approached them and they said, "Hey, we're also struggling."
So that me too. How was that moment? Because so in my mind,
Best day of my life.
in
I was
my
like,
mind,
thank
I
God.
have this
Oh my
image
gosh.
of how when you're gonna confess something, there's even that can build up. Like you don't even sleep the day before.
Yeah.
You're like, there's an anxiety.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to walk that journey with you up to how you've gone through all that, sat, finally said it, and then you hear the thing probably you didn't plan for, which is,
and I mean,
have the same
their
problem.
struggle was not exactly like mine.
Yeah, I
but it was
understood
related.
probably.
It was sexual, It was sexually nature.
So it was liberating. So then you realize, oh my gosh,
I felt like, wow,
I'm not the only one.
wow. Because one of the things I believed is that I was the only Christian in the world.
Again, because it's not talked about.
I'm not talking about Nairobi, the world, who was going through this. So to hear
Which
that,
even it makes it more of a burden.
I just kept thinking, but
What's wrong with me?
What's wrong with me? So to hear that and to hear that these are people who are still striving their faith gave me hope. That wait. God is not done with you, because I see your life. I know God is not done with you. And yet you're recovering from this. Then God's not done with me. That was really liberating. We decided to meet every Tuesday, with a few other guys as well, who we just talked with and said, hey guys, let's just meet every Tuesday. Let's talk about this. And we'd meet and we just talk about it. We'd ask each other some very hard questions. Hey, past 7 days, have you watched porn? Like, past 7 days, have you masturbated? Okay, past 7 days, have you and your girlfriend been sexually involved? Past 7 days, and those.
So it will become like an accountability.
It was an accountability group,
space.
and we'd be very open. And we just, guys just come and say, hey guys, me, I think I just want to give in. I'm tired. I'm done. And those safety, and because of that safety, healing began. And healing began. We didn't connect with all of them even much after that, because life, we just went our separate ways. But that was the beginning of the healing for me. In my final year in campus in 2011, the month of June, I remember that's when the addiction stopped. It came to a halt, and when I say came to a halt, I literally mean that, like, one day it was there, the next day it was gone.
And then you were done.
And I had a very spiritual encounter, which I shared in the Zydii course, and I could go into detail, but it would take so long.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's okay.
But the thing is, I realized that the power of accountability, the power of being vulnerable, the power of studying the scriptures, the power of prayer, when you combine those things, there's a profound impact it has on your soul, and it liberates you. And I did get liberated. I couldn't believe I was free. In fact, I thought, no.
Yeah.
I'm so used to this thing.
It's been sort of like the shadow over my shoulder, the monster over my shoulder,
it's
right?
hiding somewhere. It's just waiting to prompt. And one day turned to 1 week and 2 weeks and 1 month and 2 months and 3 months. And I'm thinking, wait, I actually am free. It was, I couldn't believe that I would sit with a lady and not have sexual thoughts. In fact, I kept thinking, am I truly a man? You know, that I can interact with someone and not start thinking about me being in bed with them. Because that's what porn does to your mind. It corrupts your mind. So it was so liberating. And I remember just feeling like, no, every man who's bound must be free. I just felt like...
So it's sort of like having seen what you've gone through, it now became, how do I help others?
Yeah. Because now I'd meet men who'd go through the same thing and they would speak so hopelessly. They would say, I don't know what to do, I'm done. And I'm thinking, I know that hopeless feeling. But you don't have to live that way. You can actually be free. And when you tell a man that you can actually be free from porn, they go like, what are you selling?
Yeah.
What are you selling? What are you selling? And when they came and so that when some of them came to me and we began just some accountability, the same thing just talking, and some just said, oh my goodness, I've gone for 3 months.
Wow.
Oh my goodness, I've gone for it's been 6 months. So I said, oh my guys, it disgusts me. I can't even believe it, but I'm actually disgusted by it. I can't believe I'm saying this. I once loved it, like it was it disgusts me.
You remind me of something, and it's so interesting. I'm glad, maybe that's why I read it, because coming into the conversation with you, where I don't know exactly where I read it, but basically the premise is you when you go through suffering, oftentimes it's through that suffering that you're going to be used to liberate others.
That is so true.
So our greatest sources of pain, and this is an encouragement for a lot of people, right?
Yes.
That to shift the way we think about our pain and our struggles, because we often think about our pain and struggles as why me? We sort of go into a victim space of just asking questions of why to God, or but without stopping to flip it around and say, so is this, what is the lesson, or how is this intending to be used to change others?
Yeah, that is
or why have I the one who's being polished through this? It's like a gem being polished, right? A diamond, which is polished through heat and furnace and pain. So now that you're the diamond being polished, why is it that you're being polished that way? So for you, looking at we'll talk about it, the impact and everything you've been able to do, then it's so interesting that for you to, it's in fact exactly what you've said. You wouldn't be able to do what you're doing if you're not coming from having walked in those shoes.
Yes. And what you're saying is very true, because the scriptures say that we comfort others with the comfort that we've received from God. And so someone will be asking, why me? I mean, just look at it as God's mercy. God has had so much mercy on you that instead of casting you aside and saying, okay, I'm done with you, He decides to use you as a vessel to bring about His purposes here on earth through the healing you've received. Yeah. So, I mean...
and that was the beginning. So wait, now... So I hear your struggle, but I want us to come into this space of talking about how it became, how you formalized. Even when people feel like, okay, now I want to go and do this, there's such a process, and
so it didn't come immediately.
Yes, that's what I want to talk about. It did not come immediately. How did you end up formalizing it into what it is now?
So I got married. I got free in 2011. I got married in 2012, right? And I was married I'd married until 2015. Same girlfriend. Yeah. Same girlfriend. Yeah.
Wow, okay.
I got to a point I had to tell her. I had to tell everything, and she, she was very gracious, very, full of mercy, and it was amazing. So we did get married. We got married the following year. Then 3 years into our marriage, I get the call from God to step into ministry. That was in 2015. And the call was very specific. To help men and women in the area of relationships that are leading to marriage, and then specifically for men who are struggling with what I struggled with. Now, up to that point, my struggle is just known with a few people.
Of course, yeah.
So when the Lord is telling me step out and start a ministry, I'm thinking, and tell people what? Tell people I'm saying no. And there's a part that's telling me, but Ernest, it's in the past. I'm like, yeah, but I don't care. It's still part of my reputation. But the Lord kept saying, no, do step out. So I remember in 2015, I was invited to speak on something, and I just started the session by saying, hey guys, I want to share with you guys my testimony. I once was addicted to masturbation and pornography, and the room went silent.
I know. I'm even looking at you like the courage to go up on stage and drop words. People are like, "What
the room went silent?"
Being brought.
There was pin, drop, silence. I think the pastor was walking out. He came back.
In fact, he was like, "Oh my gosh, who is this we invited?"
Yeah, I know. That's what like, okay, who is this? And it was there was a lot of healing that occurred that day. I was just amazed at the number of people who just came forth and said, "Yeah, I need to be free. I need to be free." And now the liberation began. And now the Lord just said, start something. So that's how Powerhouse began, and we started in 2016.
How did you choose the name?
Powerhouse. So Powerhouse comes from Colossians 1, 28 to 29. So scripture where Paul says he wants to present the people he's ministering to perfect in their relationship to Christ. He wants them and Christ to have a fantastic relationship. And then he says, how do I do this? I do this with the power that Christ has put inside of me. I labor and I push. So there's power inside this house. His body is a house. There's power inside this house. I want to use that power to really give you everything that I know, everything that Christ has deposited in me. And I pray that you'll receive it as well. And that power will be inside of you. And then you'll go out and put that power in someone else. So there's power in our house, Powerhouse.
I love it.
So that's where it came from. Yeah. And we signed it up, we put it up, and I told the Lord, I don't think men will come for this thing. Men don't talk. Men aren't vulnerable.
I was about to ask you that first. Do you call it season or class?
Yes.
Or right when you decided? Of course,
season.
There's the formalities. You had to find a space.
Yes.
Right. And
so I went to my former employer. That's the Navigators Kenya. And I had a good relationship with them.
Yes.
So I asked them for space. They're like, yeah, sure. You can use the space. I booked it for 8 weeks, and they said, yeah, I'd like to come. I put a deposit payment. And they said,
this
Lord,
is really faith by them. I'm listening to
Yeah.
you. People. There's some lessons here, and there's so many. I'm even trying to stop myself because we'll never finish.
Yeah.
But that's very important what you're saying now, because at that point you had no guarantees. You just had a vision.
I didn't know if men would come.
But you're stepping out because you're being true to the vision that you have.
Yes.
And that part of putting a deposit, can we not rush through it?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, honestly, even if it's ministry,
Yeah.
don't realize that you have to start putting in. It's like people are expecting to get the confirmation first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before they put in something,
part the waters and I'll step into the river.
Yes, and it
the Lord
tends
says,
to
no, step
work
into
there.
the river and I'll part the waters.
There you go. So I know you're saying it casually, but
Yeah.
I know there was a lot
Yes,
behind this.
there
Even
was.
you being able to put that deposit
There really
and trust
was.
and believe that this is it. 8
There
weeks.
really was.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I did put a deposit, and we waited and we put up the form for guys to sign up. And the nature of what we're talking about, you don't want a whole, you don't want 500 people. You just want.
What did you have a number in mind?
Yeah. So I thought, let's work with about 20 to 30 people. Let's work with 20 to 30 people. So we put it up, and we had 130 men sign up.
No.
Yeah.
No, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
No, now I'm even, I'm like, okay, so I'm a trainer. None of us have stories like that. Do you know all our stories, including mine, start with, like, it goes like that. It goes, you put the deposit, and then it goes, and then
Two people came, my sister and my mother.
My sister, my mother, the friend who I grew up with. And I'm like, let us proceed with this class.
No, we had 130 men sign up, but we knew it's too big a number. So we said, all right, we are going to have the first 50 to pay. The first 50 to pay are going to be accepted. So then it became a gold rush, People paying, and when we paid, we said, stop, no more. And those who paid afterwards, we just refunded them their money.
Serious testimony and story of faith.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, there are more lessons in here.
Yeah.
So you get 130 people, and you are so true to your calling that you don't say, all of you pay.
No.
Pay, I put you on the wait list. You see what I'm saying?
No.
For a lot of us, I hope you know what I'm saying.
I get,
Even to have the ethics.
Get the money.
The ethics to say, this is not just, if it was just about money, you'd have just ran with the 130.
Or would have accepted all 130 of them and would have found a tent.
Yes, a tent, and we do this.
Yeah, but
why not? Why not do that?
It wasn't about the money. It was about the money. And really, even the money was more for facilitation and everything. I met people who tell me, when I teach the course, we charge 5,700 for 8 weeks, for 7 weeks, And guys tell me, are you kidding me? With what you're doing, you could do like 30,000 per person, And I'm like, yeah, I could do 30,000 per person, but there's a man who would not come for that course. I'm like, but
who won't be able to afford it,
yes,
being left out, and maybe they're the ones who need it.
And some say, make it 30, make it 20,000. It's not about the money. So we had the first 50 come, and the first 50 did come, and we had a fantastic time.
Was 50. Wow,
I saw lives changed.
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe it. I saw a guy who came and told me, Ernest, my girlfriend has left me because I've decided to live a life of purity. She cannot understand why I want to live a sexually pure life. And she's saying that this whole thing, coming for this class, was a big mistake because, she wanted to cohabit. And she was like, no, let's do things the right way. And she got, and the girlfriend got really mad at me. And I thought, okay, that's painful, but yes. And someone came and said, hey, Ernest, my girlfriend and I got an abortion and we've been struggling with the guilt for so long. Ernest, the guilt is the guilt is, I feel that the guilt is lifted, I felt so guilty after that, So I said, Ernest, it's week 4, but I can't tell you, but something's happened. I'm not watching porn anymore. And I was just like, oh my goodness.
So that's the impact.
The impact.
That became it for you.
Yeah. And so Ernest kept saying, hey, my girlfriend and I have been living together for this long. We've decided to marry. And I'm thinking, yes, those stories really, really warm. And we've had even someone says, hey, Ernest, I've struggled with same-sex attraction for so long. I've gotten reprieve for the first time in years. Reprieve, and just to know that God doesn't hit me. And I hear that, I just think, oh my goodness.
That's why you are called to do this.
That was just the first season.
I know, I was even coming to that to ask. So
we're on season 9.
Well
as of this recording,
yes,
we're on season 9. And
so how many people so far have gone?
So we've taken about an average of 300 people through the class, So the first one had 50. Actually, it had about 60. It had, I think, 57 going to 60. So but from then on, we decided just take small numbers, 20,
you kept to your 20, 30?
Yeah,
you felt that was the right number.
Yeah, which is because it's intimate. Guys get to open up, and you get to hear, you get to even know people after that, So we've taken about 300 men through it. It got to a point where now we're a bit worried because we're thinking, okay, some of the things that we want to offer quality without compromising on our content and all that. So we even pulled in just some donors saying, because there's some people who can't afford the cost. They say, hey, I can't afford it at all. And tell them, hey, how about you put in something, raise half the cost, and we tell a few donors, hey, we've got about like 4 guys, got 10 guys, got 6 guys who cannot raise the money. Could you chip in? And they say, okay, we'll chip in on account on condition that they raise half the amount. They raise the half, and we do that so that no one can say I can't come for the course because I don't have the money.
And let me ask this, because it's so interesting listening to you, and also because I'm an entrepreneur, so I know where some of those struggles. Do you do anything else other than this?
Yes.
So yes. So basically, this is not your main. Is it your main source of livelihood?
So it does bring income, right? However, I do have some other sessions where I've got some classes I teach mainly for couples. So that also brings in income. That brings income, and then my books. I sell my books. I sell my things. I'm here and there. I've got
but that's important.
Multiple streams.
Because people are listening to this from different angles. Yes. There's somebody else who's on the angle of I have a vision and a calling to do something. But I'm struggling maybe because I'm asking myself those hard questions. I don't know what I'm going to do. We did ensure that even as we were in as much as we were sensitive to the cost effect, that we're not blind to the truth that it does cost money. Yes.
So
and you have a family to take care of. So there's also that angle of,
in fact,
how do you make the right decision,
just by
follow
God's
your
grace,
calling?
I don't even know how to say. We've never made a loss. We've never made a loss. We've always made profit. We've always made profit. I've always had more than enough to pay my rent, to do all that. It's always been more than enough. And I know even with time, even God will open more opportunities for this to grow in other ways. So I know even as the ministry is growing, even that area that I've been worried about, the financial aspect, it's also growing.
Yes.
It's also growing, because more men are coming to the class.
What I'm hearing from you, or what I want to emphasize here as well, is the validation that when you're on the right path, that is the validation.
Yes.
Right? So if this is what you've been called to do, and you are following your purpose, your calling, this is how you know. You see your story?
Yes.
So also there's the other side then, because I don't like being naive. Like I said, I've done this for a long time. There are other people who maybe, and this is another long story, we might catch for a part 2 another day, but maybe have a similar situation, maybe possibly have a calling, and of course they're trying to pursue it, but their family is struggling, their kids are don't have it. There are always two sides to the coin. And I've met a lot of people where there's a fine balance between, I'm following my faith, I have to follow and pursue.
I struggled with that, by the way.
Yes, there's life to be lived, I have a family to support.
I did struggle
so
with
is the line between faith and now you're not being realistic, something like that.
I know. Well,
it's not, is it authentic?
Yes.
Is your calling authentic? It's a very tricky area.
One of the things that really comforted me is when I read a scripture where Paul the Apostle said to the Corinthian church, he says, those who give you the gospel must feed from the gospel. And I had never read that before. I thought, wait. Paul is actually saying that those who administer the gospel to you must actually benefit from that gospel, and not in a sense that it's a business. But Paul was saying, he gave an illustration. He said, do not muzzle an ox while it's treading the grain. Basically saying, when an ox is crushing the grain for you, don't cover its mouth while it can eat some of the grain when it's moving around, And so because of that, I stopped being bashful putting a cost price to it. I said, hey, there's a cost price. Now you'll realize that even if you put it at 10 bob, there's some people will complain.
You can't.
They will say, yeah. Now you're selling this thing, and you freely you received, freely give. And so
it's a ministry. Why are you charging?
Yeah, I'm sure all right, fine, let's not charge. But how about who's gonna pay for the room? Who's gonna pay for the breakfast? Who's gonna pay for this? Who's gonna pay for this? So I got some comfort concerning that, and because of that, that shame, so to speak, and that fear went away. The Lord gave me His peace, and they said, "Hey, now I'm going to pay for that." Okay. The second thing that I did is that what I told you about the donors. Not everyone can afford the cost, but we give them an opportunity, to do that for it to cost them. And then the Lord just told me, Ernest, if people are going to Koroga Festival, they will pay money like crazy. But to get freedom from pornography and masturbation, they don't want to pay anything. And all these resources are available. And also because we use resources, and these resources cost some money, So for the person who's struggling with that, I pray that you get that comfort that the heart of what you're doing is the calling, so that the financial aspect, first of all, comes secondary. And if it does come secondary, you don't ignore it, okay? But you deal with it in light of scripture, and you ensure that your heart is clean, your
intention is pure.
And your conscience and intention is pure. It doesn't matter what really people say,
Okay.
You do the work of the Lord, knowing that He's vindicated you, He's justified you.
Cool. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the online, because we could be here for a while. So I'm also like, this is a good conversation. I'm even trying to hold myself back.
Yeah.
But I know we are learning a lot. So let's talk about the online course. Let's talk about who is this course for? And of course, the online space is something I could go a lot into with Zydii.
Yes.
And I meet people like you, actually, even for me, now that's the validation for my vision.
Yes.
Because it's so exciting to me for you to be able to go from reaching 30 to reaching thousands, which is now why we're going online.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
It's the fact that the potential impact, even beyond Kenya, is amazing.
Yes.
So, well, congratulations for that. It's exciting for me that we've been able to bring you on to Zydii.
Thank you.
But to talk about this particular course in a quick summary, right?
All right.
Who is it for, and what are they likely to take away from it?
Yeah. So Powerhouse is for men primarily. Okay, it's a course for men, and it's a course to help men develop a healthy relationships with women, refine your sexuality or your views on sexuality, have them in light of God's biblical standards, and then pursue your purpose, passionately, right? So you say, have a healthy relationship with women, have a healthy view of sexuality, and have a purposeful life. That's what we want to do for men, right? So it's for any man really. Any man really would say, if you'd ask us, the majority of the people who've come for the course are people aged between 19 and 35.
Okay.
That'd be but really any man who really wants to grow in their knowledge of God, to grow spiritually, to get rid of the sinful strangles of sexual sins that are holding them down. This is for you. Any man who wants to just refine your relationships with women, and lead it to a healthy marriage, or refine the marriage that you already have, this is a course for you. And anyone who just feels like, I've just been everywhere, sin has really tangled me, and I need to get out, and I'm living purposeless and lost. This is a course for you, and I think it is worth your time and worth your money. Yeah.
Maybe let me also ask this, because I know it's with Zydii, when we do online courses, it's not, we can't take the classroom program and make it an online course.
Yeah.
I mean, people would be learning for years, right?
Yes.
trying to go through the videos online. And so definitely the online course is always it's sort of, I'd like to just to clarify for people, it's almost like an introductory,
yes.
or it takes some of the topics and provides them in a way that's simple.
Yes.
It's an hour long,
yes.
so it's like I said, the program is 8 weeks. I heard you
yes.
say,
yes.
so we can't take 8 weeks and compress them. It would even take away from the essence of what it is.
And I like what you guys have done. I like what Zydii has done, because Zydii has taken like each lesson and has broken them down in manageable segments, and just like the first session on the introduction, talking about masculinity, what is the culture's view of masculinity, toxic masculinity, what is the, what is biblical masculinity, how does God want us to engage our masculinity, how does he want us to view women, how does he want us to view sexuality, view relationship. They've broken them down, so it's manageable, it's not overwhelming, and I thank you guys for that.
Okay.
And I mean, 8 weeks of those manageable pieces, if you just sit down and commit yourself
for an hour
to
and listen to this, you get a pretty good introduction.
Yes.
Or you still get the same sort of, almost not the same experience, but you still get to experience this powerful program.
You really do.
In a format that's convenient for you.
Yeah. and you can
it's
move around with it.
summarized.
It's,
I also think for those who feel they may not be ready for the 8 weeks, this is a good starting point.
Exactly.
To start with the online course so that you're not being left out.
Yes.
Because maybe you feel I'm not ready to come and commit for the full class for 8 weeks, right? Okay, cool. Right. So mothers raising sons, my last point.
Yes.
Because you said it's for men.
Yeah.
But I had looked at the course and thought, okay, should I, as a mother who's raising sons, would this be of benefit to me?
Yeah.
Or is it strictly for men only? Women, stay away. This is not for you.
2 ways to answer that. First of all, we've received every season we put up, the registration for the new Powerhouse class. We always have women register. Always have women register saying, hey, can I come? Like, it's a men's course. We know. Like, how?
For them it's like understanding men 101.
I know, exactly. They're like, we want to see. So women have always, there's been an
women
interest.
have FOMO.
And women do struggle with pornography and masturbation as well. In fact, one of the things that we are doing is that we are starting one for women soon, because the Lord prompted us to actually do that. Because statistically, one of the recent reports by Pornhub showed that of the top countries where women consume porn, countries where the number of women consuming porn is very, very high. Kenya was third on the list.
Whoa.
Yeah, Kenya was third on the list. So there are many Kenyan women who consume pornography. So it's a real issue. And the Lord prompted us to start one. So hopefully, girl power coming soon. All right?
At least, well, you've answered that.
Right? But now for like a mother,
for the aspect of a mother, or so a mother raising sons, a woman wanting to understand her husband,
you really
would, for example, going through this online course be of benefit?
It will help. Okay. It will really help you understand how men think, how men operate, the issues facing men, the struggles that men are going through, And I think that understanding will really help you now transfer to your sons if you are a mother, or just know how to relate well with your husband. We've had a few people who've actually listened to part of our teachings. At times we've had a few women who said, hey, can I just come in and listen to this? And they say, oh my goodness, I came in for like 20 minutes, but that 20 minutes has changed everything.
Yeah, about our interaction.
About my relationship. Yeah. Instead, I can't believe that. I said, and you're doing this for 7 weeks.
Imagine.
So it does have an impact. And you can go, there's nothing taboo in there per se. So you can just come, but we're just very vulnerable, very open as men. Yeah. And, just check it out.
Oh, wow, cool. Yeah. So, Ernest, it's been amazing talking to you.
Thank you.
I see us doing a part 2.
Yes.
For the people listening, you can see the time and the topic we're covering. Hey, I don't even know. So, I'd like to encourage people to give their comments.
Yeah, thank you.
Give their questions so that I have the chance to come back and ask you. If somebody is listening to this and you feel like this, you want us to dive deeper into an aspect of our conversation, post a comment, send us the information, ask, and we'll be happy to come back and probably pick up a second conversation on all this.
Definitely.
So I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. And I'm excited to see where your Zydii course is going. I definitely... I'm really humbled and excited about the potential impact of this. Thank you. And looking forward to doing many more.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Joyce.
All right. Cool. Thanks, Ernest.
Asante.